Rambam writes in Hilchos Tainis that there's days that Kol Yisrael fast, and they are Yom Shlishi and Tishrei, third day of Tishrei. Neri Gedai ben Achikon, Asir B'Teves, today. Shivasa B'Tammuz, and Tisha B'Av. A very simple question, and I think it's a very, very compelling question. There's a machlokes in the Gemara between Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Akiva said, and Rabbi Shimon says, Rabbi Akiva darshan one way, and I don't agree with him. And how exactly to arrange? The pasuk says, Som Ha'Revi, Som Ha'Chamishi, Som Ha'Shvi, and Som Ha'Asiri. So Rabbi Akiva says it goes according to the months of the year. Som Ha'Revi in the pasuk is referring to Shivos and Tammuz. Som Ha'Asiri, Som Ha'Chamishi is Tisha B'Av, it's the 5th month. Som Ha'Shvi is Som Gedayu, which is the 7th month, and Som Ha'Asiri is Asar B'Teves, which is the 10th month. So it's clear that the pasuk tells us, according to him, it goes according to the seder of the months. And the other Mandamar figures out that it goes in historical seder of how it happened. The Rambam makes up his own seder. He starts with the seder of the year, not beginning. The Gemara says, Rabbi Akiva says the seder of the year beginning with Nisan. And Som Ha'Revi, Som Ha'Chamishi, Som Ha'Shvi, and Som Ha'Asiri is the seder of the Nisan year. The other one learns it's the how the events happen. Comes along the Rambam, makes up his own thing. He starts with Rosh Hashanah. He starts with Tzom Gedayu, which was the last thing that happened. He goes to Asar B'Teves, which was the first thing that happened. And then he goes to Shivos B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. It's just like very unbelievable that he should feel he can improve on either the Psukim or Chazal. He made up his own calendar over here in the Rambam. I mean, he didn't make up a calendar. There is a year that starts with Tishrei, but that's not the way the Navi says to arrange it. So what is the Rambam coming here to teach us by? He could have done it very nicely in the and by the way, he's in Seder Zmanim. It goes according to the months of the year. The Seder Zmanim also goes basically according to the Rambam, according to the months of the year, starting with Nisan. So in Sefer Zmanim, where it normally goes according to the months of the year, starting with Nisan, all of a sudden the Rambam in Hilchos Tainis decides to use a different calendar and uses the calendar that starts in Tishrei. There's a serious problem in the Rambam. Another very difficult thing is that Rashi says in Brachas, the whole idea of, well, maybe I'll say one more kasha here. The whole idea here that the Rambam writes all this is what's the reason for all this is l'ftoyach darkei atshuva. The whole idea of Tainis fast days was to awaken our hearts and to open them up for the path of doing tshuva. Why isn't it Hilchos Tshuva? Why isn't it Hilchos Tshuva? For example, Yom Kippur has a lot of different aspects. Avodah of Yom Kippur is in Hilchos, is in Sefer Avodah. That's where it's in the Avodah. The Malach of Yom Kippur and the fasting of Yom Kippur is in Sefer Zmanim. The Tshuva of Yom Kippur is in Hilchos Tshuva. But in the Rambam, when he organized halachos, the dinim of Tshuva on Yom Kippur, that's a special mitzvah to be shov on Yom Kippur, he writes in Hilchos Tshuva. The fact that you have to not do malacha, he writes in Zmanim the Yontiv. And the fact that there's certain karbonis, he puts in this section in the Rambam dealing with karbonis. 3 different svarim. It's a very illogical, seemingly illogical, to tell me that the laws of the Tamesim, which the whole purpose is tshuva, yes, of course they come out on times. Yom Kippur also comes a time when you know about tshuva of Yom Kippur, he puts that in the laws of tshuva, not in the laws of Yom Tov. Why does the Rambam write the dinim here of the Hilchos Tainis in the laws of the Yom Tov, the day of the Tainis, rather than Hilchos Tshuva? there's a special din of tshuva. Just like in Yom Kippur, there's a special din of tshuva on Yom Kippur are in the laws of tshuva. Why isn't the tshuva of the fast days, which is really only basically for tshuva, in the laws of tshuva? You want to talk, that's like the whole significance of it. It's a little bit of a hezbollah. And there's no mention of it in Hilchos Tshuva regarding the Tanes. Very interesting. The Gemara tells us in Brachos the whole idea of kindness. The Gemara says, what's the main thing of the kindness? The main value of the kindness? It was Agra the kindness tzedakah. The main value of the kindness is tzedakah. It's also a little difficult. Rambam says the main value of the kindness is true. The whole purpose of the kindness. The Gemara says Agra the kindness tzedakah. Let's see if we can answer that. But listen to what Rashi says. The simple pshat, someone told you the value of the fast day is tzedakah, so it means that part of the avodas hayom is you should give tzedakah. You should give tzedakah. But part of it is you have a special kriyas Torah or fasting, and there's a special inyan to give tzedakah. That would be the simple reading of the Gemara. It comes along Rashi and says, Shenoisten tzedakah le'erev le'parnasas ha'aniyim shesanu hayom. The tzedakah you give after the kindness. Like for the people that fasted today, the money you give them, why is he taking out the pshat in the Gemara? The Gemara says, Agra the kindness tzedakah, we need the mitzvah of tzedakah. One would think it's the tzedakah you give today. So mitzvah hayom to give tzedakah. Comes along Rashi says the tzedakah you give tonight, after the kindness. Rashi said something here. Another very interesting halacha here is the din of tshuva. The Rambam, in the laws of tshuva and in the laws of the tshuva of kindness, he holds all the time the main mitzvah is vidui. Vidui is the main mitzvah. He brings in Hilchos Tshuva the mitzvahs esed daraxin hisvadu. The confession, the vidui that we did this morning. That's the main part of tshuva. That's the mitzvah of tshuva. It's not tshuva. The mitzvah is vidui. It's the same thing over here. It's vidui here. Except he said it's an unbelievable thing. The vidui of Hilchos Tshuva is a pasuk in Parshas Naso. V'hisvadu es chatoisa. That you have to, when you do Asher Me'ilus, it's not enough to restore the money, you also have to be misvadu. Here he brings a pasuk in Parshas Bechukoisai. Shenem v'hisvadu es avoina, v'esavoina avoisa. What does this mean? What's the pshat, the pasuk? I understand. I have to be misvadu. All of a sudden I have to make my parents sinners. My Haliga parents, they also are sinners. Very unbelievable thing. Viduing myself, okay, but it's two different psukim too. It's really a kasha on the pasuk, but it's very interesting that the Rambam brings the law of viduing on a tinus today is different than the vidui of the regular. A regular sin on the Savad on my sins. Here I say, I'm a sinner, my parents were sinners too, which itself is a Tmiyah Gedola, what we're doing over here. In order to understand this, I want to begin with the Gemara and Kedusha. Has some, besides huge halachic ramifications, practical ramifications also. The Gemara is the contradiction. Actually, the Gemara brings two psukim that are the same question on both psukim. One pasuk says, "Imru tzadik yitov ki prima len yochel." Talk about tzaddik tov. So the Gemara is the kasha. Is there tzaddik tov or tzaddik? It's not tov. I mean, the word tov is redundant. You say tzaddik, it means tov. No, the Gemara says the tzaddik tov and the tzaddik not tov. What is tzaddik tov? Tzadik Tov is Tov l'shamayim and Tov l'brius. What is a Tzadik she'ein Tov? That's Tov l'shamayim v'ra l'brius. I guess most people mislearn Pshat in the Gemara. Ner l'chiyah, David, Makar Kashvus, Shabbos, Paras l'shpach. Okay, I steal from people. I'm not a Tzadik Tov, but a Tzadik I am. And that's what the Gemara said. Tzadik Tov is Tov l'shamayim and Tov l'brius. Tzadik she'ein Tov means someone who's Tov to Shemayim and he's not Tov l'brius. We'll see what that means. I'm just joking. That's not the Pshat. Then the Gemara has a similar question, another person. Oil Rosha Ra. Woe to the Rosha that's evil. Frank the Gemara Kash is the Rosha that's Ra and the Rosha that's not Ra. A Rosha by definition is evil. The Gemara said no. If he's Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius, that's a Rosha Ra. If he's Ra l'shamayim and not Ra l'brius, that's a Rosha that's not Ra. So I guess we could say the same thing. Ra l'shamayim. Hey, let me tell you Rashi. I don't want to get into it. It's the wrong shot. Rashi says like this. Let's say Ra l'shamayim, not l'brius. I don't keep kosher. That's Ra l'shamayim, I'm not Ra l'brius. What's Ra l'shamayim v'Ra l'brius? Ganef and Gazlan. Ganef and Gazlan means what people might think that somebody who's an Erlich Jew, when he steals, is Tov l'shamayim, just he's Tov about Ra l'brius. That's the definition of Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. And Ganef and Gazlan is Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. He doesn't listen to Hashem, he's bad to people. So someone deludes himself that I'm machmer, meinodom l'mokim, and meinodom l'chaber. Geneva and Gezela is a beinodom l'mokim also. So a person who's not is not meticulously observing Geneva and Gezela is Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. So now we have an unbelievable kasha over here. So now we understand. If you do a aver ben odom l'chavero, you're Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. If you do an aver that's only l'shamayim, not keeping kosher, that's Ra l'shamayim, you're not Ra l'brius. What's Tov l'shamayim and Tov l'brius? That's the person who does both. But what is Tov l'shamayim and Ra l'brius? If you're Ra l'brius, you're Ra l'shamayim too. The Gemara said that Tzadik Tov is someone who is good l'shamayim and good l'brius. What's a Tzadik she'ein Tov? If he's good l'shamayim and not good l'brius. What is the case of not being good l'brius? What's the case of not being good l'brius? If you're not good l'brius, that's called Ra l'shamayim. If you're Ra l'brius, you're Ra l'shamayim too. Ganef and Gazlan is Ra l'shamayim, Ra l'brius. So where do we have? What does it mean? You're Tov l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. What is the pshat in the Gemara? What is the Gemara saying? And Ganef and Gazlan is Ra l'shamayim too. So how can you be Tov l'shamayim and Ra l'brius? If you're Ra l'brius, you're Ra l'shamayim. Pshat's like this. A Ganef and Gazlan is Ra l'shamayim. If you do something bad to your friend, you're Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. If you do something right to your friend, Hashem says, give him stock. And you did stock. You're Tov l'shamayim. But if you don't do it because you care about him, that's Ra l'brius. You're doing everything Hashem told you right. You're doing everything He said you're doing, and you're doing it right. However, you're not doing it in the way that your friend feels you care about him, that's Ra l'brius. I don't think it's possible to learn the Gemara any other way. If you do something evil that Hashem said don't do to your friend, that's Ra l'shamayim and Ra l'brius. Tov l'shamayim means I'm listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm doing what He told me to do, but I'm not communicating to my friend that I care about him. I'm only giving. You know why I'm giving him tzedakah? Because Hashem told me to give him tzedakah. That's Ra l'shamayim. That's Tov l'shamayim, but Ra l'brius. I'm not communicating that I care about him. The yesod of bein adam l'chaveros is not merely not injuring the person, not merely doing the things you're supposed to do for him. You are mechuyev to give it over to him in a way that you care about him. That's the yesod. You have to do it in a way you care, because the tachlis of the Jew is to do it in a way that he cares about his friend. The Rambam says a very interesting yesod in Hilchos Brachos. Kol mitzvahs aseh shebein adam l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu bein mitzvah she chayva, bein mitzvah she'ena chayva mevarach aleim koydem lasos. There's in every mitzvah that I do, I'm mechuyev whether to make a bracha. The Rambam is careful to write shebein adam l'makar. It comes along with the Kesed Mishnah and says mitzvah shebein adam l'chavero, you don't make a bracha. The Rambam holds when mitzvah bein adam l'chaver, you don't make a bracha. The way we're explaining that, the Rambam is beautiful. The Rambam holds that the tachlis of the mitzvah bein adam l'chavero is not just to do the action, but to show you I care about you. I have to feel that I care about you. And not only that, you also have to show I care about you. And therefore, if I make a bracha, what I'm doing is undercutting the mitzvah, that I'm not doing the mitzvah in its shleimus. Normally, when I make a bracha, I'm enhancing the mitzvah. Here, making a bracha is detracting from the mitzvah. Why are you doing this? Because Hashem told me to do it. Why you give me to stop it? Hashem told me. That's minimized. That's a minimalization of the mitzvah. Because part of the mitzvah is, and its shleimus is, I care about you. I'm a rala brius if I don't care about you. If I make a bracha, the message that I'm delivering is I'm doing it because my mother told me, or my father told me, or the Rebbeinu Shalom told me. That's not the right way to do a bein adam l'chavero. Therefore, there's no mitzvah. The Rajba and all those that are chaylik that say there is a din to make a bracha on a bein adam l'chavero, and they give very specific reasons for any mitzvahs. That's not that they're disagreeing on the principle. Avada, the tachlis of every bein adam l'chavero is because I want to do it 100%, and therefore I want to do it. There'd be a reason to make a bracha. However, the reason we don't make the bracha, according to the Rambam, is because you're conveying the wrong message. This is a machlokes now the Rishonim. Everybody holds the tachlis of bein adam l'chaver is I have to be v'halpis damas v'boyrei v'dov kabo v'lachta b'dracha in the teyadiyah. I have to be like a Kadosh Baruch Hu. I have to become the kind of person that is like the Boyrei, who cares and is giving, is about to do chesed. Except the Rambam holds the mitzvahs that the recipient has to feel it too. And the Rajban, they may hold not the recipient has to feel this, the giver has to be that kind of person, but that's not muchrat that you have to give that message over to the recipient. Bein adam l'makom I do because I'm obedient. Bein adam l'chaver is because I have to become a generous person. That's the mitzvah. But whether or not that I am generous and caring about you is a tenai in the shleimus of the bein adam l'chaver, that I have to be that, or as the shleimus means, you have to understand, the recipient has to understand it. The Raj holds the recipient has to, the Rambam holds the recipient has to understand it, therefore there's no bracha. The Rajba holds and be made that the recipient doesn't have to, but you have to be a person like that. So of course you should have to make a bracha, except Lamaisa you may not have the case. He'll die before you give him the food, and it's not worth it. But it would be a reason to make a bracha. The tachlis of a bein adam l'chavero mitzvah is that I have to feel my friend's pain, I have to feel his need, I have to care about him, I have to want to help him. The machloikis, the dakas machloikis between the Rajban and the Rambam is whether or not it's enough that I feel it, or I have to make sure that the recipient feels it also. Very interesting, I mean, by the Rebbeinu Shalom himself, it's hard to know whether he did it in such a way that indicates to you that he wants you to feel it that way, or it's just intellectually you understand from the fact that he's doing it. And the Rambam holds you have to give that over. Yep, that's part of the way he has to. We want him to feel. And according to the Rambam, according to the Rajban, it's enough that I feel, and therefore there'd be a reason to make a bracha. The Rambam actually also, what I told the Rambam was in Perek Yud Aleph and Hilchos Brachos. Perek Aleph in Hilchos Brachos, the Rambam, the Raj, I think everybody agrees to this also. Listen to the Rambam's lashon here. Perek Aleph Halacha Gimel. Kishem shemevorchem al hanoya, kach mevorchem al kol mitzvah. Just like you make a birchas hanenin, you make a birchas hamitzvahs. Which means the Rambam is telling us that a birchas hamitzvahs is also a birchas hanenin. And that means like this, that the idea that I have a good feeling, and the idea that I have a sense of aliyah, and the feeling that I have grown, and it's not schwer to sein a yid, is the definition of why you make a birchas ha. Even by bein adam l'makom, is the reason you make a bracha is because the feeling of the aliyah and joy, either you can't have, with that feeling you can't have without making a bracha, it's almost like a birchas hanenin, or it's just saying that there is a hana here also, and therefore in that hana I'm giving a shvach v'hodoyim. But for sure there's a hana, the Rambam says, in doing a birchas, in doing a mitzvah, there's a hana. There's a hana. It's not the hana from the chayfetz of the mitzvah, because that would be a mitzvah l'avlehenis, sugya like Rabbeinu Manova points out here on this Rambam. But it's certainly from the obedience, from the shaychus. I can have hana, like the Mesilas Yesharim says, that the yesod ha-yesodus is to understand that mitzvahs were given the person to be nedim yiziv hashchina. So from the relationship, there's an incredible hana, and the bracha is for the hana. That's by bein adam l'makom, bein adam l'chaver. According to the Rambam, that's from the shaychus to Hashem. By bein adam l'chaver, it's not only from the shaychus to Hashem, it's the fact that I feel tremendous aliyah in my mitzius of the shleimus of tzelem and the mus, that I have a tremendous aliyah, that I have a feeling for humanity. And the Rambam goes one step beyond that it has to actually be conveyed, that feeling, to the recipient also. That's the yesod of brachas. Which Memela means there's no din of any kavana on the mitzvah bein adam l'chaver. There's no, everybody talks about it, mostly everybody agrees that on bein adam l'chaver there's no din of mitzvah tzrichas kavana. They all say svars, but I think this is really the underlying yesod ha-yesodus of all the svars, is the tachlis of the bein adam l'chaver is to be the kind of person that cares, and to do it out of a feeling of caring for the person. And the shleimus ha-mitzvah is my sense of caring. That's the kiyum ha-mitzvah, is the human being who's developed himself and become, about the development of himself over the years, to be mashlim, the tzelem of a person, the mus of a person, to be mistamet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to become a sensitive, caring, feeling human being. That's a mitzvah. That's stuck in all the chesed I do for a person. That's the expression of that, and therefore there's no din of mitzvah tzrichas kavana on this. It's not poshut. It's not shaykh a din of mitzvah tzrichas kavana. According to the Rambam, not only that, what we're saying, according to the Rambam, it would even be a decreasing of the mitzvah. Not only you don't have to, you shouldn't do that. I mean, you know what it would be? Somebody asked me, please pass this. You're sitting at the table, can you please pass the water? Okay, on the edge of the mitzvah. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's not a real person. A real person, when somebody asks him for something, feels that he wants to do it. He feels he wants to do it. And this is not the time now he should remember Hashem is telling him to do it. And Hashem is not telling him to do it as much as Hashem is telling him to become the kind of person that has to do it. That I have to be before here. That's the whole avoid of a person, to be that kind of person. Otherwise doing mitzvahs is just some type of artificial action, getting credits. It's not about that at all. It's about being the kind of, someone asks you for a taiva, you don't have to, maybe I should wash my hands and say, before I... The whole word is not, mitzvahs is not just to pick up points. Mitzvahs is to be, especially the Bein Adam Chavero, is to be developed a feeling of caring and concern for somebody. And to instantly react to his need. Not to think about the mitzvah involved. There's no difference in Shrichas Kavanah. It's already, I'm just being modern. Yehuda says that this is already, and it's poshut. There can't be a din of mitzvahs Shrichas Kavanah and Bein Adam L'Chaver. It's not shaykh. It's like, it's the steer to understanding what a Bein Adam L'Chaver is. Yeah, Rabbi Chanan says it has, they all say it has bear, but this is really the underline. This is really the yesod of all that has bear. The din of Bein Adam L'Chaver is becoming a certain type of person. And in becoming a person, you have to be a real person. Something you jump in and do it. The reason I developed myself like this was the someone told me, it was mitzvah me to be malach the bedrachim. But the shas license is not supposed to be thinking about what I'm doing. It's like driving a car. You know, in the days you have a stick shift, you start thinking about driving the car. It's very hard to drive. I put my foot down. It's very hard. You have to reach the point. A good driver has to reach the point that, I don't know if anybody here, those of you who have fancy sport cars, that it has a manual transmission. You have to, if you start thinking about what you're doing, you're not going to drive smooth. You have to get to the point that you are, it's just such a natural thing. That's what a Bein Adam L'Chaver is. That's the hadamah to what Bein Adam L'Chaver are. Agar the tiniest tzedakah, what Rashi is saying like this. All year, I'm really hungry. Really hungry. So Baruch Hashem, plenty of food in the refrigerator. Once a year, I'm hungry. A few times during the year, I'm hungry. When I'm fasting, then I'm talking hungry or thirsty, whatever it is. Yeah. When I'm feeling hunger and thirst, what the Chachamim want, and what the whole idea of a timeless is, they want us to feel hunger and thirst. Why? Because then I can start feeling what a poor man feels. I can learn how to empathize with a poor person's hunger and thirst. He's hungry and thirsty almost every night. He has to get stuck. He needs money to help him eat. But Rashi is on this. Agar the tiny tzedakah. You want to know if you learned anything by fasting on Asar B'Tevis? After the fast, did you go and run to alleviate your hunger and thirst? Or did you realize that now that you're hungry and thirsty, which is rare, there's people that are for sure, other people that are for sure hungry every night, but even tonight, and they don't necessarily have a place to run and go to. The stuff you give after the fast is moichiach when you learn the lesson of the fast. Rashi is telling you, Agar the tiniest tzedakah means that after the tiniest. It's not a din in giving tzedakah for kapara, tzedakah tatzim mimonis or mavirinus rayat zayr. Nothing to do with that. The din, the reason fast days were instituted were in order to learn how to empathize with other people. To take the feelings that I don't usually have and to understand there's other people. And the litmus test is, what did I do when the fast was over? If after the fast was over I ran to eat and drink, I didn't get the message of the fast. If after the fast is over, I'm hungry and thirsty, somebody else is hungry, I gave them, then I got the message of the fast. That's what Rashi says. So the definition of the fast is to learn how to empathize with our fellow man. That's the takanim, the things that are from the Divrei and Nevi'im. These fast days are halachas that it's not to be mitzar ourselves to suffer, It is, but not for the sake of the suffering itself. It's in order to empathize with people that always, to get more, open myself up to identify and have a feeling of other people's sorrow. And that becomes, the proof of that is, how do I relate right after the fast day? Why is that the yesod of the fast day? Why is the yesod of the fast day Be'el Mechaber? Why is that? Agra the time is tzedakah means the main value of the fast is tzedakah. And Rashi says that means taking care of the aniyim after the fast. So it means the main value of fast days is to feel other people's pain and to respond to that. Why is it? How come that's the main value of the fast? Now we have to begin understanding what the fast days are. The fast days are not decrees on me. The fast days are decrees on the Jewish community, on the tzibur. That's not a decree on me. I happen to suffer also for what the Jewish people suffer, but it wasn't a decree specifically on me. Churban Abayis wasn't a decree on me or anybody said it was a decree on Klal Yisrael. All these were punishments against Klal Yisrael. The din of a Gemara says, so we should understand this, the Gemara says that on a Tainus Sibur, on every Tainus Sibur that doesn't have Poshe Yisrael, it's not a tefillah. On a Tainus Sibur, you have to have the Poshe Yisrael. Because we learn out from the Chelban, what kind of din? You have to have a shoyim coming in. What does that mean? What kind of din is that? Why? Why? I mean, I won't tell you what some people say, which is, makes me look good. Because they come in, they're terrible. I don't think there's a halmik, that's the pshat. Anyway, the Chelban, the pshat's like this. The word of the fast day is the pshat. The word of the fast day is, I have to understand that I'm being inspired for the tzibur. I want the Rishonim there because I'm responsible for them too. We're a community. And therefore the Rishonim, if I'm there, I'm davening for myself, I'm davening for what I'm responsible, the averos that I did. If we have the Rishonim here, and we're one group, means I'm taking responsibility for myself, and for my Arabistic, Achelik, and everybody else's, which means there's a feeling on a tiny tzibur is that we have to recreate the tzibur. The definition of the tzibur means I'm responsible for myself, I'm responsible for everybody else, and I'm taking responsibility. I want them in there because I am taking responsibility to be the spal that they should also be improved and they should also be elevated. The whole din of the tiniest tzibur, the tefillah on tiniest tzibur, is not just to take off the decree. It's to recreate the chefs of tzibur, that we are all connected to each other and we're all responsible for each other. And since we're all responsible for each other, we want the Rishonim there also because we're taking responsibility for them too, and we want them included. They're part of the tzibur. We're not cutting them off of the tzibur. We want that they should also, that the aliyah, the growth, the tikkun should be on them also. Every single Jew would take the responsibility for it. Even the Poshe Yisrael. And for the doctor, we need the Poshe Yisrael because that becomes the litmus test, how much responsibility I'm taking for the tzibur. That's the din of the tiniest tzibur. The whole word here is, the avodah of tiniest tzibur is that we have to daven as a tzibur, take responsibility for the tzibur, and therefore the din of the tzedakah is the fast is to give us something we can identify more easily. I'm hungry. Doesn't mean you don't need to be a rocket scientist. I think there's probably other people that's hungry, and start feeling of empathy and caring for others. And for states, I care for their gashmias, I care for their ruchnius too. That's the tefillah. I have to care for their ruchnius too. That's the din of tefillah on the time of the tzibur. These gezeros are gezeros against the tzibur. All these gezeros were against the tzibur. Now it's true. In Bayis Sheni, it's very simple because the problem was sinas chinam. Sinas chinam, of course, the tikkun of sinas chinam is I care and I empathize with you. We understand that. What about Bayis Rishon? Gili Arai Shlichadon Avodah Zarah we also had after Bayis Rishon these days of Tanesim. Same thing. It's just not, I learn how for each individual that I care for. In Tainus and by Gili Arai Shlichadon Avodah Zarah, there's also not every Jew that Gili Arai Shlichadon Avodah Zarah Bayis Rishon. Probably a very small amount of people that, mashma from the Chazal, a very, very small amount. However, in Kol Yisrael, our ravens, we have responsibility. So the whole vort there is, like we said before, is that I'm teaching myself responsibility for every other Jew too. The Rishonim, the Poshei Yisrael, I'm taking responsibility for them, and therefore that's the tikkun of the Gzeira on the Tzibur, is that all of us that are part of the Tzibur, even if we ourselves didn't do the Aver, we are taking responsibility for all those that did, and when we do that, that's a tikkun of the Chetz of Tzibur, and that tikkun of the entity of Tzibur is what will eventually be miyashiv take off the Gzeira. That is for sure the din of Vidui over here. Here's the kasha, the din of Vidui. Vidui, you learn out after being misvad. What am I being misvad on? Avoiding my sins, my father's sin? What does that mean? The din of the tefillah of Vidui of the Tainus Tzibur is an einish on the Tzibur is not only a Tzibur is and in halacha is an entity Tzibur loimes. It's not shaykh shinui b'aylam. The Gemara says on the Tzibur. The Tzibur is an eternal Tzibur of Klal Yisrael is an eternal entity. Eternal means it's not just the people that are here now. It's the people that will be here, the people that were here, and therefore the din of Vidui over here is that Tzibur needs Vidui. We're being misvad on the Tzibur. We're being misvad on everybody's sins, and the earlier generations also are being misvad on their sins, because we need a kapara. The Tzibur needs a kapara. The whole idea is we have to realize these are decrees against the Tzibur, and it's our responsibility to fix up for the Tzibur, not to save ourselves. This is not about a personal saving. This is about saving the Tzibur. And saving the Tzibur means, and Rambam says, the way you save the Tzibur is you take responsibility for what the Tzibur did, your misvada, which is the acceptance of the responsibility for the Tzibur. By Yochid, it's the responsibility for yourself. Here it's the responsibility for the Tzibur. I'm taking responsibility for the Tzibur. That's why you have the Poshei Yisrael. That's why the Vidui is from a different pasuk. If it just been for my sin, one thing. But I do, as the pasuk says, as avoinam, as avon, avoisun, because it's the Tzibur, I'm taking responsibility for the entire Tzibur. That's the din of what are we doing to ensure we should become Tzibur? Besides that we're davening, but we're also working in the tzedakah, which is the agra, the kind of tzedakah, is we are doing things to teach ourselves and to learn how to internalize a feeling of caring for others. That's the whole avodah of a kindness, is for us to learn how to care and feel and sense a connection to the tzibur, to others. It's not only about me. And it's not only the vort of the other people living today, it's a much greater thing. It's Knesset, the tzibur of Knesset Yisrael. And therefore it's not only on the present, it's on the past too. That's the yesod of what the Arba Tanesim are. Memela, that's a whole different din than Hilchos Tshuva. Hilchos Tshuva is my personal responsibility for what I'm doing. This is a special din for what the tzibur is doing. I'm taking full responsibility. Each one of us is, to the extent of we weren't better role models. Kol Yisrael Reivim Zeh B'Zeh. If we would have been a better role model, and today it's Manena, we know that, people that, a lot of their problems that people do is because we don't exemplify what a Torah Jew should be. We don't exemplify neediness. We generate a feeling of entitlement and selfishness and self-centeredness, and that's what it is. I'm not interested. And therefore we have, because of our lack of being proper role models, it's Kol Yisrael Reivim Zeh B'Zeh, we have responsibility for what the tzibur did, and our avoid here is to learn how to care and feel about the tzibur. That's why the Rambam switches the order. the Metzius of the Tzibur of Knesset Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech, and the word Tzibur, that's Tishrei. The Rambam is telling us that in Hilchos Manim, I am telling you here the laws of the Tzibur. He's not talking about here the historical of this and what he's kind of. He's defining for us that the Tzibur of Klal Yisrael, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the king, and we're all his Am, and we're his Tzibur that's created on Tishrei. And the whole avoid of the Tanesim is to reinstate to ourselves and to be oived, to establish the sense of tzibur, the sense that we care for each other, we feel for each other, and his pain is my pain, or my pain, I now understand his pain, and no matter who he is, Tzaddik, Russia, or Poshi Yisrael, I'm working for him because I'm taking responsibility, and we all do have responsibility. If we act in a way that's improper, we're sending a message that that somebody's discouraged from being from a yid, and therefore we have responsibility, and we're taking that responsibility. And we're not just trying to get rid of the decree. We want the decree to go off the sea. We're not to go off on him, on me, and not him, on all of us. I want him here. He is part of the delegation. I want him here, and I'm davening for him, and I want this decree to go off on him also. We become so parochial that never we talk and think about ourselves and our type of Yiddishkeit and the group we belong to and the rest. Am Yisrael is a nation, and we need everybody to be that nation. Poshi Yisrael are part of that nation. The Gedolei Yisrael, the earlier generation, they heard of my section. Somebody told me that he heard from the driver who used to drive from Shlomo Zalman Auerbach home after the Shir in Kol Torah, that if there was a funeral of a Chayal, he would stop the car and say Kapitel Tehillim. Say this. He says, we all go to Kivrei Tzaddikim. That's Kivrei Tzaddikim. Other ways to say the same thing is the Pshat. Anybody who's killed because he's a Jew is part of who we are too. It could have been us. It wasn't against him. It was against being a Jew. That's who we are. You have to understand that the ones that are being claimed out of Mishmor and putting your lives on the line, that's for us too. That's for us too. And we have to remind ourselves we're tzibur. It's not just our enclave. Because once it's our enclave, it's not even the frum world. It's the frum world that's my style, my chassidus, my type of yeshiva. Understand what you do is it's either all of us or there's none of us. Otherwise it's just about me. And anybody that I want to add to me. And usually that group becomes very small. It's about the tzibur. And the whole avodah of the time is it was a decree against the tzibur. We have to be masakin the zera on the tzibur. And the avodah is to work on the bein adam, the chaveros, which we started off saying is a feeling of tremendous care, love, feeling for. That's the takus. That's the hizdamus. The mitzvah has to be the damas, the boyri, the halach, the drachav. The sidbak is to emulate in the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares and feels and relates to us. We have to have the same feeling for Klal Yisrael. That's what we have. We have to understand it's Klal Yisrael and we schlepped in the Poshei. It's not a tefillah without the Poshei Yisrael. Let me just conclude. Everybody knows what's going on in Eretz Yisrael. Let me tell you a story that happened last week. Somebody learned here in the yeshiva. I guess afterwards I'll say what it is. I'm in yeshiva learning Eretz Yisrael now about 7 or 8 years. He's married. He gets onto a bus and sits down to a very old man. And with what's going on, I guess, he said, what is it with you guys? He speaks to Hebrew. You're pregnant. You don't go to the army. You're parasites over here. In the yeshiva, you're parasites over here. I know what I would say. Let me tell you what he said. And he said, you know what? You're right. I love you. And the guy said, I fought in the war. I went to the war. I said, look, I appreciate what you did for me. I have tremendous respect for you and I have tremendous love for you. That's what he told me. A few stops later, that guy gets off. After school, giving him, gets off. He gets off the bus with the guy. He's an older man. There's a lot of packages. He carries the guy's packages home for him. to show him this. When I said I really respect and love you, that I know you fought put your life on the line, goes into the apartment, brings it in. Before he left the apartment, the guy started hugging and kissing him. The old man started hugging and kissing him. I would not shaykh this. But I hope now that I saw this was. By the way, this is Moshe Behar. So we all know Moshe Behar is not a parasite on the country. He's bringing more money into the country. He doesn't take 1 cent from the government. Everything. And he could have answered that to the guy. Who you know I am? I live for money from Chutzlords. I'm bringing to the economy. I'm investing here. He would have, if that would have been me, probably I would have been, listen, I'm not saying Mr. Bodie started over me, but that's not me. No, you're right. I appreciate who you are. I appreciate what you've done for me and for Claude Israel. You give that person that message, and you love him, and care for him. Instead of all the fighting and it's shreklach, every day you pick up another Meissen of tremendous snobness and cursing and spitting from the yin. If you give them the feeling that you care and you love them, it can be helped. That's what our goal here is on Tanesim. Tanesim, the avod of the timeless, is to learn how to empathize and to understand that we're one and trying to take responsibility for the averis of the chilonim. That's our fault. If we would be different type, and we have, so it's all our fault. Because we certainly have a big chiluk. If we would be acting the way we should be acting, they would not be that way. We have a huge responsibility for that. We have to take responsibility for that. That is Hashem. If we talk to do that, which is really what the whole din of every Bein Adam Chaver is, to become the kind of person that cares for everybody, cares for his gashmis, his body, his ruchnius, that we undertake and we give over that message and deliver that message to them. We'll talk to be a tikkun of Sina's Chinam, become Abba's Chinam, Mishon Abol, Mishon Abol. Amen.